Hey, everybody. Again, David, this is all you, brother. But
all right.
you.
Yeah, there's a little bit of lag between. Go ahead.
Oh, I got you, man. Don't worry about it. We got a full house today. I am Charles. That's Omar. That's David. That's Jubilee. Well, that's not I have to go the other way. That's Jubilee. And we have the radiant, awesome, and amazing Miss Mama Toya with us today. David has put together an incredible show. So I am going to sit back and pass that baton to David, who, like as Omar pointed out before we started, brother, you look handsome, brother. We see the haircut. You got the picture is symmetrical behind you, man. We see you, brother. So take us away.
All right. Thank you very much. Welcome, everybody, to what episode are we on today? 109, 109, something like that of the South Star Classroom. As Charles said, my name's David Castillo. We'll jump into introductions here shortly, including our very special guest. Thank you for being here. We're in that like early September moment, and we've actually done, I think, an annual show for the last couple of years around all things back to school. And so we wanted to focus today on this back to school moment. I've been looking up and I haven't found the exact numbers, but what I can find is that there is something close to like 60 million children that attend public schools in the US. I don't think that includes private schools. So you can do the math. We're talking about tens of millions, 60, 70, maybe even 80 million children are enrolled in schools, K-12 in this country. And so many parents, tend to send their children to school and kind of just, in this like cruise control mode and assume that everything's going to be okay. And what we want to lift up today, because not enough people are talking about it, in this moment, when you hear people talking about education, they're talking about book bans, they're talking about social emotional learning and getting it out of schools. They're talking about all the cultural war stuff, and we might touch on that. But we want to talk about some basic nuts and bolts, right? You are a parent, you're a caregiver, you're an auntie, you're a grandma. What does it mean to send your child, the children that are in your care, back to school? What are some good practical things that you can do? And then we're going to also talk about the flip side. If you are a teacher, right? If you are a teacher in this moment, what are some practical things that you can do to strengthen that home school classroom teacher connection, right? We all have different roles. We all have different connections to this topic. I'm going through it right now as a parent, so I'm definitely going to bring, I wouldn't say some fire, but some passion to the conversation because I'm frustrated. But yeah, that's the topic. So with that, we will do our regular participant intros, and then we're going to introduce our special guest and allow herself to introduce herself, and then we're going to jump in. So why don't we go ahead and start upper left, Jubilee. How are you doing today? What's going on?
It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood, isn't it? It's September, buddy, yeah. Say, do you remember, buddy, yeah?
Toya, didn't I tell you she was going to sing? I told you she was going to sing, Toya.
I mean, it's September. September is such a beautiful time of year. First of all, almost everybody in my family, like my immediate family, is born in September. So yesterday was my older brother's birthday, and so we celebrated him. This Friday is my birthday, and this Saturday is my oldest son's birthday. I was pregnant. I was in labor with him on my birthday. So we had my dad's birthday's the 27th. My mom's was the 1st. And I could go on and on. My brother-in-law, that's my baby sister's husband, we share a birthday, so his is on Friday as well. So September is like on and popping. And of course, like there's back to school, like we're going to talk about today. Yesterday, 9/11, it's bittersweet. It's my brother's birthday, but it is also a day that was a tragic day, as we all know. Thousands and thousands of Americans lost their lives. I actually worked at the World Trade Center for about 4 years. It's where I was employed through this really dope program that I was in high school. And I worked at that company all the way till I was a junior in undergrad. So, Yeah. So lost, several colleagues and several friends that day. And so, rest in peace. It's 20 plus years later, but it doesn't make it any easier. But may we never forget. And yeah, so I'm excited to be here and celebrating my upcoming birthday and to be here with all of you.
Oh, happy early birthday.
All right.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Jubilee. Charles, Dr. Cole.
Yes, Charles is tired, man, but I'm happy to be here. We have one of my favorite people, man. I love Toya, man. Toya, you just make me smile when you hear Toya checks in on me. It's just great. Toya, there ain't too many things I wouldn't do in the world for you, love. Happy to be here, happy to have you. And yeah, we'll have to get you the right link. You said that the link wasn't working, but we got you. But we are happy that you are here. So I'm good. I have some travel coming up and some work and trying to be diligent and all that stuff. And yeah, man. And so I'm happy. I'm happy to be here. And I'm gonna say this here, Miss Toya. You have an open invitation. So don't say, "Oh, you guys haven't invited me back" or whatever the case is. I just told you. So there you go.
Awesome. All right, Omar. What's going on in Texas?
Omar's struggling with his sound right now, man. So
is he? Okay. All right.
Yeah. He got the echo popping. So.
Yeah, just skip me for now. I got to figure out what's going on with this echo. But it's like the mic on the AirPods are working, but it's not. The speaker's not working, and I'm trying to fix it over Firefox, and it's basically
stop using Firefox. That's your first mistake.
It's like. Oh, so what is the best? Let me log out and go to something else. Yeah. What do I go to?
Yeah.
Chrome?
Yeah.
Chrome. Done.
Try
all right,
AOL.
I'll see you all in a minute.
Yeah. You ain't got to
try AOL
browser like that.
We're gonna send him some. I'm gonna send him overnight some of those AOL discs. All right.
I just want you to know, Omar just sounded the oldest we ever heard him sound. But for the people out there, Omar is out there running his school right now. You might hear some bells ringing and some kids shuffling. But
right.
I appreciate his dedication, even though he's in the middle of work. Go ahead, Dave.
That's right. All right. Cool. Well, with no further ado, I'd like to introduce our special guest and. I think maybe second or third time on the show, not quite sure. Miss Toya coming out of, I believe, Philadelphia. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah. So thank you for joining us today. And like Charles said, you're always welcome here. We're looking forward to hearing your perspective on the topics today. But why don't you give our listeners a little bit of background on who you are and what's happening in your world?
So I am Toya Algarin. And I am a mother of 3. My eldest child is 33. So I've been in the education field for 33 years now. And I also have 7 grandkids. They're across the scale in learning styles. So 2 of them are special needs. One is high functioning special needs, and the other one is nonverbal. So, my job is never done as an advocate, never. I'm on the board of KIPP Philadelphia for the last 9 years. That's coming to an end. And I'm a parent advocate in the city of Philadelphia. I've slowed down because, my mother just passed away this year. And basically, how about this? I changed careers because I used to work at IKEA. And volunteer all the time in the schools and stuff like that, raise money for the schools. But now I work in the school part-time. And I'm looking at it from a whole different ballgame now. You know what I mean? So I'm really, first of all, I'm happy to be here and I want to say thank you. And the other thing is I like to talk from a teacher standpoint. I'm not a teacher, but I'm a teacher's assistant. So I'm in the classroom with the children. And yeah, I'm happy to be here. Thank you.
Awesome. All right. We look forward to diving into today's topic with you, given your multiple hats that you wear. So thank you for being here with us. And just so everybody knows, I think you threw up an alert last week. You're like, oh, you got to have me on. You're going to be doing this show. That only works with maybe 1 or 2 people. So everybody can't do that. But yeah, like Charles said, right. you got the golden ticket here, right? You got the key to the key to the show. All right. Mr. Texas is back. and I believe we've got functioning technology. How are you doing, Omar?
Yeah, I mean, is there an echo anymore?
Well,
you're good.
You're good right now. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Good. So I got it on the AirPods. I think we got it figured out. Cool. What's up, y'all? So
you can talk to us about Firefox.
I mean, yeah, man. Apparently, Firefox is not working out really well.
I knew he was going to try to troll you, Omar. I had your back.
Yo, look,
I had your back.
That's the least of my concerns. All right, we're in Texas. All right, I got the.
I didn't even know Mozilla was still popping.
I gotta have Jesus in my schools. I gotta have all the kids that are vaping go to a mandatory alternative program, which everyone here knows that is a like school to prison pipeline. And then they're like, oh, but you know what will solve this? Guns. I need you to bring lots of guns to school.
Wow.
So like, they're like, you can't have that vaping. That is the devil. But you know what you can't have? Guns. So, it's like crazy, another man. Tuesday in Texas, literally. Now, I gotta, my heart's out to Jubilee and Toya. My sister is a Virgo. Her birthday is today. So shout out to all you September babies. My mom is the 27th. That makes her a Libra. But, we celebrate in September. And yeah, it's a pleasant day in September if I can survive it because of the guns in the school. So, we'll see.
All right, cool. Well, we're glad you're here, Omar. And if you are watching today's show on any one of our platforms, please make sure to join the conversation on either Facebook and or YouTube. We're also on Twitter, streaming on a couple of streams there. Roku, is that correct, Charles? On the
yes, Roku. We are live on Roku.
The network.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
All right.
Welcome
so join the conversation. Yeah. Cool. All right. Well, let's hop in. So we have, where are we at? 3:15. We're good. So it's we're in this back to school moment, and some schools, interestingly enough, started like even early August, right? And then some people just went back to school like this week. So there's quite a range of when people go back to school, but I think now we can say everybody's back in school. And what we wanted to talk about today is to, give some practical advice to people that are working in schools and to parents that send their children to schools around, how you can best support our students, right? Our children, our learners. In a perfect world, everybody would have this dialed in. Schools would do everything on the checklist and everything would be great. It doesn't always work like that. Parents are also kind of overtaxed in this moment. And so we want to make sure that we can kind of cut to the chase and give some good practical advice. Again, especially coming out of emerging from the pandemic, people are talking about new variants. I don't know if that's going to come back, but we're definitely still getting reacclimated, getting our sea legs back. And then also trying to cut through all of the BS with the, it's not BS, it's real stuff that's happening, obviously. But trying to cut through some of the culture war stuff and just offer practical advice for families and for people that are working in schools. So with that, I wanted to jump into, let me see if I can get this going. We wanted to start off first with, what we call, families, parents, caregivers. Caregivers is kind of like an overarching term that basically is used to describe anybody that is, responsible for caring for children. We tend to focus on traditional families, but really family structure, traditional, non-traditional, doesn't really matter. Anybody that is responsible for making sure that children are fed, children go to school, they come home, they're doing their homework, all of that. So this is all encompassing. Practical advice, especially in the beginning of the year, things that, parents can be doing to support their learners, regardless of what schools are doing. So maybe we'll start with Jubilee and then we'll just kind of go around. You're a parent, right? You've got two children in school. What are one or two things that you feel are really kind of top of the list in terms of things that you do and things that you would offer as advice to other parents?
Sure. I think I have a daily touch point, with my sons that I think is really important. So I'm in this weird place again. I was kind of enjoying both my sons having the same schedule, or at least the same school day for like the past 2 years. But now we're back in the saddle again, where one is in middle school and the other's in high school. So now one catches the bus at 6:53, the other catches the bus at 8 something. And so we used to have like our morning prayer time and all these things that I'm now reconfiguring, So one thing that I have resolved to do is ensure that regardless of, and if you hear something bouncing in the background, it's because the Meadow Rose, Charles, don't say anything, decided to play with her ball in this moment. And so I'm going to push on through. But if you hear that, it's Meadow. She was quiet and now she wants to play with her ball. So there's that.
Meadow Rose is the dog. It's the damn dog. That's what you
That's what
got you. Oh,
right.
Okay.
So you're going to say it anyway. I know
didn't
it.
recognize the name. My bad.
It's fine.
Cool.
That wasn't my cue-in to start singing George Clinton, and I get the cue-ins all wrong on this show.
Where is George Clinton? Okay. All right. So
I wish he was over in El Paso, man, playing that good-ass music with, Parliament Funkadelic. Where's Bootsy Collins?
That was my first concert.
Yeah.
Really?
Oh, yeah. That and Earth, Wind, and Fire.
Oh my goodness!
At the Spectrum. Think about that when I was
good.
16. So when you were singing September, I was like at home.
Well,
she's gonna sing some more probably. The over/under is two songs for her. I'm sorry. I got your back. I'm just saying you sing well.
You got to watch Charles because he knows how to slide them in there. He knows how to throw you in a very delicate and intentional way. You got to watch him.
This is slander. And I don't appreciate
let it be slander. So touch points. So basically, I have my time where I pray with them, but outside of that, people who are not religious or what have you, I'm intentional about ensuring I ask them about their day, and I literally just like sit down and listen to them. I don't try to indoctrinate them or tell them how they should feel. I allow them to share what they honestly feel about their day. And I don't try to like spin it. Like most of the time, my 7th grader will come in and he's like, it was all right. Like my teachers were boring. Like, I didn't find anything exciting, which kind of saddens me because I'm like, oh my God, school should be so exhilarating and so fun. But in his experience, it's not, at least not right now. And then, my 9th grader has all these other things. He's learning how to build relationships. He's like, Mommy, things are going to change, because I'm going to be 14 and soon I'm going to start having facial hair. I'm like, I don't give a damn. You still going to have to sit down and listen to what I'm saying. But I meet them where they are. They're in 2 completely different places. And so I just give them the space to talk and to find out how their day was, both in school and outside of school every single day, so that no matter what happens when they go out into the world, if they don't feel heard, if they don't feel seen in school, if they're not connecting with teachers or the bus driver or whoever, they're going to be able to connect with me.
Boom. That's great. Yeah, that's like a foolproof strategy right there, because that could be used both in school life, work life, whatever. Just making sure you have open communication, right? It's not judgmental. Okay.
So I just saw Toya's question in the. Did I answer? Or you wanted me to be more specific?
Yeah. Like what it looks like.
That was perfect. I'm taking notes. You're fine.
All right. Awesome.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Before we go on, I realized sometimes I'm so much about business, I forgot to check in myself. So I'm going to do a quick check-in, really quick, because we had a great weekend last weekend. We on Saturday had like a secret date night with the wife. Took her out to a beautiful venue here in San Diego. It's like on the waterfront. It's an outdoor venue. Jazz show, right? Probably.
Is the Gaslamp? Were you in the Gaslamp?
Well, we were close to it. Yeah, we're on the backside of the convention center, and there was a couple thousand people. This beautiful outdoor venue. It's a new venue in San Diego with a local jazz trumpet player native to San Diego, but then also a trumpet player or a sax player who is from the East Coast but now lives here. This guy used to play with like Charles Mingus and like all the greats. I mean, his name is Charles McPherson, if you look him up. He's a legend, right? And so they put together this group, and they did an 1.5 hour long show where they basically covered the great jazz compositions of Dizzy Gillespie and Charlie Parker. Unbelievable, like crazy, right? I'm still buzzing from it. And then Sunday we did a family thing. We took the family out to one of the local Native American reservations, Sequan, which is a local band of the Kumeyaay tribe, which is like the Native American tribe here in Southern California, San Diego area, for their annual powwow. They do like a 3-day powwow. And so you get to see like Native American culture through all of the resistance and through all of the challenges is still here. Native American people are still here. They're still celebrating. They're connecting. They're passing down traditions from one generation to the other. It was quite a beautiful thing to see. It was a great weekend. But yeah, let's transition back to the topic at hand. All right. So let's go to Ms. Toya. What are your thoughts on, practical advice that you can offer, things that you've done or things that you've seen that have been helpful preparing young people to be successful in schools?
So for me, what I would be doing right now is at drop off, I would be meeting the parents and the teachers. I would definitely find a cohort of parents that had like mine. You know what I mean? And somebody who I could bounce off of, somebody who would be there when I'm not there. That's one thing I would do. The other thing I would do is take a bag of apples. It's apple season on the East Coast. A bag of apples to the teacher, and I would just let her know that I'm here to partner with her and see how maybe I could volunteer early on. I actually, in the school that I work with the kindergarten teacher, and the parents are so eager at that age to just help out. So that's what I would be doing right now. And meeting their friends at school.
Yep.
I like what Jubilee said, and I applaud you for that because I know I didn't do that. I'm kind of old school, right? How was your day? And I probably was working. So I knew, I work I was in retail, so I worked nights, So by the time I got home, it was homework. My mom, had taken care of all that. But I knew in the mornings that before school started, I was going to make new relationships with other parents and with the teacher.
Yep. And for people that are listening or that will listen to this, it's important to note that, if you're in schools, if you work in schools, if you've led schools, if you've been a parent, you get it. But, parent community engagement, the dynamics are very different. TKK, people want to be in the classroom. They want to be volunteering. And as you go through, you start to see a drop off in high school. You tend to see parents aren't even going to the school. They're just kids are getting to the school on their own. So the strategies that schools have to employ to maintain engagement do change because you do tend to see a drop off the older children get. That's a generalization, but Charles, what do you got to add for this piece?
Yeah, I don't know how good or bad your school is or whatnot, but I think if we're talking about what you can do early on, what I would say is you want to be aligned in intention with all these different partners. Oh, the stuff is still happening. I'm getting all the different little the little things from my computer update. But you want to be up to date. So talk to your kids. What's the goal? What are we aiming for? I want you to have a good time. I want you to do this. But what are we going there to do? What am I expecting of you? And then I would say introducing yourself to your kids' teachers. I wrote about this whole thing in a book that's free on the website. But you want to, I think what Mama Toya said. Oh, yes. I think what Mama Toya said is actually straight. We talk about that in the book. Ingratiate yourself with these people. Let them know, hey, you're gonna have my kid. I just want you to know I'm here. Whatever ways you need me to partner. These are my expectations for my kid. Here's the great things that you should probably know about my kid. Here's where they thrive or whatnot. So making sure everybody's on the same page, and then you have a goal. What is the goal that you setting, for yourself as a parent around what does involvement look like? What does success for this year look like? Do you have relationships with those parents? With those teachers? Have you met other parents Do you know that principal? Does that principal know you? Exchange phone numbers. Like, hey, you and my kid got the same classes. Maybe we should like know each other because there might be something you can't cover and I can, and I can't cover you, but you can. Like, you don't have to do this alone. So start to put together your supreme team around that stuff. So when we're talking about there's a lot of things that you can do as a parent or a caregiver. You don't have to have a PhD. You don't have to be a teacher or have, experience there. There are just some of those stalwart parents that that you see in that school, and everybody knows them. It's really different when your kid is acting up and people be like, I know Miss May, right? I'm gonna holler at her, right? Like what's happening, because like you said, David, early on, it's cool for parents to be in the school in that classroom. The older your kid get, that middle school, high school, when they start to have a social life, you don't want to see your parents up there, man. Don't nobody want their mama coming up to the schoolhouse in a muumuu. You feel me? Like, who mom
That's
is
just
that?
too bad.
You
That's
did.
just too bad.
That's all good.
I dropped my son off the other day. I was like, I love you, Sydney. Mommy loves you. He was so.
Let me tell you, I had younger. My parents are younger, right? Like my parents are only my mother's 21 years older than me, and my dad's a few years older than her. I had attractive parents. I hated when my parents came, father or mother, because if your mom's attractive and you got, Charles's mom's is here. Oh, Mrs. Cole is here. Like, hey, bro, don't say nothing to my mama, bro. Like you about to start a fight. And I had attractive pops, and even the girls be like, oh, that's Mr. Cole's up here or whatever. I'm just telling you, kids don't like seeing their parents at their school, man. But the point is, what I'm saying is that you have to make sure that your presence is felt, that people know they can reach out to you. So don't think that you have no power over this school. Don't think that there's nothing that you can do, because whatever you tell yourself, you're going to be right. If you say I ain't got no control, then you don't. But if you say, hey, I'm in partnership with these people, let me build honest, really good relationships with these people, you can put things you can start things out on the right foot. It may not stay there, but you can start really, really strong.
Yeah. Omar, what do you got?
Yeah, man, you're
operating within. Yeah, you're operating within the school system. What is what advice do you have?
I got tons. I think for the school people, like, y'all need to get some damn advisories going. Because, like, look,
we're talking about parents now. What advice do you have for parents?
And okay. Let me get to the parents, because if I'm a parent, I would advocate for an advisory system first and foremost, because, like, who are you talking to? You go to high school, middle school, who are you talking to? You need an advisory system where you have a one-stop shop where you can talk to this one advisory teacher and they can provide context for everybody. That's number one. If I'm a parent, I think I have three pieces of, like, very solid advice. One, get to know your administrators immediately. Who's the principal, who's the assistant principal, make a relationship with one of them where you can communicate. Because if you don't have an advisory system, you've got too many teachers and things are going to fall through the cracks. You need some administrator that's a friend of yours, that you're not lauding accusations. You're just like what Mama Toya is talking about. Like, go take them a batch of apples, some candies at Starbucks, say hi and be like, listen, like, I'm here to help you. Like, how can I help? But how can I also communicate and create systems so that parents have greater communications with their teachers and with their administrators, whether it be through text or an online portal or something? Because all parents talk. Like, the only access they really have are grades. And look, maybe 80% of parents only need that. But when we're looking at the other 20% of parents, there should be some level of greater access so that they can not only talk to administrators, but understand what's going on. This flips back to the administrators, where I'm like, administrators of schools, you need to start making access a little bit easier. And what I mean by that is, like, so you invite parents to coffee with the principal. Cool. What if they can't make it? How are they going to voice their concerns? Is there a portal where they can voice their concerns? Did you put that onto a podcast or a video so they can watch that coffee with the principal, whatever they want, and then be like, click here to send a message to the principal? Like, you know how easy that is and how revolutionary that is? And parents, I'm telling you, I wish you would also be advocating for these systems. But look, educators, oftentimes not the best tech savvy people. Some of y'all may know exactly how to be tech savvy. Be like, listen, here's how to set this portal up. Cool. those are my first two pieces of advice. Get to know your administrator, figure out greater portals of communication within the administration in order to have them get your feedback if you're unable to go to a coffee with the principal and everything else. Also ask for a more diverse set of ways of hearing that information, a video, a podcast, a newsletter, just something, right?
Yep.
So that you're hearing what's going on in the school beyond just your children's grades.
Yep.
And then the third thing is like, yo, you may not, if you got no advisory system, if the administrators are packed, go find a teacher that you really like. Just that you like, that you can establish a solid relationship, because I bet you $1,000 they'll go to bat for you and finding information for your child. So if it's like your kid's got a great relationship with that social studies teacher or that science teacher, find out who that is. Then go make a relationship with them and just talk to them. Be like, yo, I'm, Umberto's mom. Yo, I'm, Charlotte's dad. I would love to help you and get to know more about what's going on in the school. How can I provide support? If I can't come volunteer, is there a way that we can communicate and you can help me kind of navigate the terrain so I can learn more about my kid? I mean, right there, dude, like you're able to do what Charles is saying, which is don't expect agency to occur from somebody else's hands. You have to be the catalyst for your own agency and take it into your own hands. And I'm not saying, hey man, you got to go all renegade and start coming in here guns blazing, literally, in order to like take care of your child. I'm just saying no one's ever going to do these things. So take it upon yourself to do these things. That's some South Star advice right there, man. Damn.
Yeah.
Take that. Take that.
Yeah. I think the advice I have to offer, I'm not going to repeat anything, but it's very like, at least the way that my brain works, it's very like transactional. And what I mean by that is, I think in some of the charter systems and maybe private schools, I don't know, they might do it differently. But if your child attends a large district school, there's a lot of anxiety. Like you don't get your schedule until sometimes like the day before school starts, right? You don't know who the teachers are, and it's just like, what are we going into? So it's a very quick turnaround. And so for me, as a parent, what I historically have done is make sure that you have, I prepare an email, a very basic email introducing myself. And there's a couple of questions embedded in there about like grading policies, about, classroom expectations. Here's how you can contact me. Here's my email. Here's my cell phone. We're in this together. Maybe it's like it's not like a physical apple, but it's like a conceptual apple, right? I'm breaking bread. I'm like, we're in this together, right? I'm sure shit's gonna go south at some point down the road, but right now, like, trying to build a relationship with people and letting teachers and administrators know that like I'm paying attention as a parent. I have certain expectations, right? And so just doing that early outreach, like we know how to get in touch with one another. The second piece is like understanding how the schools do grading, right? Am I logged into that grading portal? I'm in there. I know my kid has 6 teachers and I know 4 do grades and 2 of them are slacking, right? But that's how we communicate. This is the way that, the schools tell me how my child is doing academically. And I expect all 6 teachers to enter grades in a timely fashion, right? That's the accountability piece. Maybe there's a world where we can do like some workshops for parents around the different grading systems and questions to ask, because it can actually be a good tool. And then also on top of all that is like being the parent of a child with an IEP, making sure I know who my kid's case manager is, if it changes, right? Because they typically change. So who is the new case manager for my child? Who is providing services? What does that look like? This is very important. You have a child with an IEP. Have all of my kids' teachers been provided the IEP at a glance 1-pager? So do all of my kids' teachers know that my child has an IEP? And do they have the overview of what is in the IEP. That's some basic accountability, and that's things that should be happening at the beginning of the year. So let's make this next segment a little more interactive. That was kind of like we all went around. If anybody has anything they want to add to that, let's do it. But otherwise, in the interest of time, let's move on to now let's talk about schools, right? So what are some things that schools and teachers can be doing, right, on this same thing? So now you're working inside the building, right? You're either the administrator, you're a teacher. What are some moves that you can be doing and you should be doing in the very beginning part of the year? We'll leave it open to anybody who's got something burning right now.
I would say, if I was a teacher, and I've witnessed this at the school that I work at right now, the teachers are out there in the morning, and they're out there earlier than like 8:15, and they're out there meeting parents.
I love that.
And like the principal, and I'm not like, whatever. She's good she knows everybody's name. She knows the students and what class they're in. You know what I mean? Like, how do you know everybody, 400 kids' names? So as a teacher, it's just communicating with that friendly face and letting parents know that, yep, I'm here. I'm teaching your child. I'm caring for your child. And actually, I think teachers should also ask questions about the child, ask questions about the students, So, yeah.
I think anybody that's working in education and working in schools, I hope that you heard what that parent and that parent advocate, said makes her feel, welcomed and puts her in a good place with you as an educator. I think the situation is similar for educators as it is for parents. I do these trainings both ways. I would say you can depend on the age group and what's appropriate. You can send something home and saying, hey, I'm Mr. Such and Such. Here is my grading policy. Here's how I'm thinking about things. This is how you can this is how you can connect with me. Here's my discipline policy. My camera's doing some cool stuff. I like that.
Yo, man, you see that? You got like a big ass stuff.
I know, man. Like it does a whole bunch of stuff.
You got going on here?
It's really dope, man.
And I want
yeah, I mean, you got to get off of Mozilla, brother. But I got you. Like,
you see what I'm saying? You see? It sounds like he's trying to be supportive, but he's really trolling you.
There it goes. There it goes.
I'm just saying.
Oh.
He's got like fireworks.
He's really trolling you. It's bothering me, Omar. Just saying.
Yeah,
Julie, I think you just bothered. It's all good, but I think as a teacher, as this school, I think be as clear as you can, set as clear expectations as you can, allow those parents and those students to ask questions, like make sure people have an understanding. And I also would say, and don't leave out your like curriculum goals either. Don't leave out what this kid will be learning, where they starting at and what they'll be learning. Don't leave that out. And I think if you start engaging. If that parent introduces themselves to you and you introduce yourself to that parent and that kid is in the mix and everybody know what their job is, everybody know what their role is, then it allows for us to be able to move in our lanes and everybody can be held accountable to what they need to do and we can build some real relationships. So those are the things that I think can happen. If you stay behind that desk, unless you, and listen, you might be a super savant educator. There are some that I had that were just, stay behind that desk, old school, whatever, but that was rarer. And I think that in today's society with all this extra stuff happening, I think the more people know you, the more they can give you the benefit of the doubt. And I think that when people when they know who you are, there's room for us to have conversations. So bring the humanity part back in and be good at your job. Know what the hell you're teaching. No, don't, now that I've worked in education, I can go back and look at, man, I've seen so many videos. I've seen the little push cart with the TV and the VCR pushed into a classroom with videos that had nothing to do with what we was doing. It's like, oh, now I know you just wasn't prepared or you was hungover or whatever the case is, right? Like, so don't be that person. And that's what I would say. Because people don't be liking to talk about that. But when I started working in education, I was like, oh, that's why teachers be having the movies pulled out or we watching a movie today. Your ass don't feel like teaching today.
I'll tag on.
Rockabye, babe.
You got my brain going. back to what Toya is saying, back to what Charles is saying, right? Relationships, right? And I think it can be dovetailed with the academic piece. It doesn't have to be done in isolation, but learn them babies' names, you know, and learn at least one piece of non-academic information about the children, right? Like everything does not have to be about reading, writing, arithmetic. If you know that child has an affinity for horses, right, or loves, you know, is on a football team on the weekends, right, or, you know, has a grandmother who, you know, whose name is May or whatever, like, you don't know how far that piece of information could go during instruction, and you don't know how much you can leverage that little piece of information to connect with that student and get that student learning or going further faster. And then also I'd say, like, don't call the parent's phone in January with something negative to say about the kid. Don't call my phone. Don't call me. Don't call me because you didn't call me in August, September, October, November, and December. You didn't call me to say nothing. Now you want to call me and tell me that Mookie is not sitting still in class, that he's failing. Don't call my phone, right? So
well, maybe Mookie just got to start getting on her nerves in January.
Well, that's too bad. If you wanted me to be able to support you with Mookie, which I will,
because you're gonna be mad.
That's my child. You should have called me in August when there wasn't anything to be said. But hey, Mookie's in my class. I just love his, you know, his energy, his enthusiasm, and I think it's gonna be a great year. Call me for no reason at all, but just to say hello and to connect with me as a parent. I think that teachers lose points big time by not connecting in the beginning of the year and being consistent with it. You wait for something to hit the fan. You wait for somebody to have a food fight. You wait for this child to get into an issue in the classroom, and then suddenly I need the parent. People, you needed the parent in the beginning, in the summertime, in the beginning of the school. You always need the parent. This is a partnership. So involve the parents early on, not just when you get out of jail free card, when you want that parent to let the kid know that you ain't playing, right? This is a partnership. Let's work together as a community, because the idea is that the child feels seen, feels heard, feels valued, and is able to be held accountable by all.
Can we push though? Can I push you on this though?
Sure.
Can I push you? Like, because I give that same advice. I think the first call should be like an introductory call. This is what I see in your kid, like very positive. But sometimes kids are assholes. Like sometimes kids are jerks. I've seen kids cuss out teachers. Now, listen, man, I grew up in Oakland, in Chicago, in Kentucky. I've seen kids, like, I've seen teachers have to like pull the phone. Like, you know, remember I went to school in that time where they had the phone on the wall and was like, I got to call your parent because you wilding. I think it is ideal for the first call to not be a negative one. But some parents don't believe that their kids can be jerks too. Like kids are kids at times. So, because here's the thing, what'll happen though, right? If they don't call, if they heard that and they didn't make the connection early, and then it comes June and they got an F, and it's like, well, Mookie took a turn in January. You're gonna be like, why you ain't call me in January? Well, you just yelled on TV to not call me.
No, I'm saying, don't call my phone. Like I'm a whole different kind of parent though, because I'm just a different kind of parent. But what I'm saying is, no. Call me. I think
David wants them teachers to call him. Like, I think if his kid is acting like he ain't got no home training, I think Dave gonna be like, "Hey, boy, you know how to act."
I'm with Jubilee. No, if it's the first calls in January or February and it's bad, you're getting blocked. You're gonna get blocked.
What if your kid has been great all year, David, and then something, David, your kid got his first girlfriend. He broke up with his little girlfriend in January and he started wilding out.
I still should have heard from you prior. Yeah. That's all I'm saying is, instead of this idea that the parent is only to be contacted when said teacher needs help in correcting a situation.
It's easy when you got an elementary class. It's easy when you only got the 25. When you are a high school or a middle school teacher, and when you got 100 plus kids, listen,
you get a paycheck, right? You get a paycheck, right?
When you get a paycheck, but listen, I think teachers should absolutely communicate. This is one of my things. I teach and I work and support that. You know what I'm saying? And I'm gonna have Omar jump in on this one because he is a principal over. I don't know what grades you got, Omar. I don't know if you got the higher grades, the middle school kids or whatever.
He does.
But when you start getting into 80 kids and 90 kids or whatever, like you can try to make some contact, but it's hard though. I can get that being difficult.
Okay, listen to me. Maybe I'm biased. Remember the story I told
you?
Yeah,
because it's your kid.
No, let's go to when I was a principal, right? And my chief academic officer, who was also my leadership coach, was like, look, I didn't realize I stepped into a turnaround situation. You're like, you're gonna have to call them parents. I said, call them.
Absolutely.
It's right. It was a small school, 250 kids, right? Times however many parents, because I did speak to all the parents, right? I sat in my office, right, amongst all the other stuff that I was responsible for, and dialed each number. So when people throw numbers at me, it doesn't matter. When I was at AP, 600 plus students, we learned all the students' names. To what Toya was saying, it can be done. I'm not saying that.
I'm not saying it couldn't be done. I got you.
I'm not saying that. All I'm saying is, if it is an intention, it can be done. And the idea is to just see the parents as partners versus this idea that you only contact parents to correct situations, right? If you see it like that, then you will reach out more often, right? And it doesn't always have to be a phone call. It could be a text. It could be one of those school messenger things. It could be a newsletter. It could be an email. It could be
I'm all for
like communication,
the initiative to do these things, right? I'm also for parents initiating this ability themselves.
Exactly.
Exactly. Here, right? Look, that's why we got advisories. We're 6 through 12. That's why we got advisory systems, because it's a one-stop shop. But there's a dual end to this that I want to advocate for. Look, and I'm saying this as a leader of a Latino organization. Latino parents are very hesitant to engage. It's why David and I are so quiet, because that Latino heritage, like, let the person finish speaking. But then I got Toya being like, you better jump in or she's gonna leave. And I'm like, I got you. I'm going to jump in. So on that end, teachers, we advocate for our teachers to jump in with our Latino parents because they are hesitant, because they do need a little bit of like courtesy. However, what we're talking about on this podcast is parents having the agency to jump in themselves. Exactly. Because ultimately, this is what David is saying, or excuse me, Dr. Cole is saying this entire podcast is like, squeaky wheel gets the grease. Squeaky wheel gets the grease. And for our parents to understand, listen, there's only going to be a handful of parents that actually reach out and do this. You will be the most important parent on that campus, because you're going to be one out of the 15 that took the initiative to actually do this. And now the principal's going to hear you, the admin's going to hear you, and everything else. Look, Jubilee, I'm with you completely. But what you're talking about is high-end work that best practice people do. We're doing this stuff. You did this stuff because y'all are badass. But when you can't tell me that's what's going on in 85% of the schools out there with the principals.
It's
like,
not.
I know the name of every child. Hell no.
Exactly.
And like Dr. Cole says, we're out here on our own. So like, don't wait for the school to talk to you. You better call that ass.
If your kid got 6 classes, 7 classes, that's if you ain't heard from them classes in months, then it's like, yo, let me make a call up here and just kind of see how things are going or whatever. Like, I think what Jubilee and David are saying is what should happen. I think we having a conversation about what should happen, and we talking about people who are educated and administrators.
It can happen.
I mean, it can and it should.
Yeah.
It can and it should, but everybody's not like you, David. Like, this is why you ran successful schools. You have
So that's why we're talking about like practical advice for.
I'm talking to the Toyas, right? I'm talking to the Toyas.
I'm talking to Toyas.
I'm talking to the mama Toyas, right? Where it's like, look, if you ain't heard from that baby
Charles,
school,
hold on, Charles. I gotta interrupt. We just got pulled up. We're getting pulled up on by the Literacy Society. So
that's what's up.
I want to. We're getting pulled up on. So
hello, Literacy Society. How you doing?
Yep, I got a couple. Shout out to Sonja's on here, Mother's on here. My
we got some good comments coming through,
and my brother's also educator watching.
Yeah. I love it.
So,
I love it.
Toya, what do you have to offer on this?
I was gonna say if Toya got some,
Yeah, you're working in classrooms. You serve on a school board right now for KIPP, Philly area, right? So, like, what does that look like for you?
I mean, I see all sides. Because, to be honest with you, Jubilee, you wouldn't run into the problem of the teacher calling you 6 months later because you already know the teacher. So for me, it's like, and that goes true. What you're saying about don't just call me when my son does wrong, call me when my son does
exactly.
Right. But the other thing that I tell you right now, right, the funniest thing with me is with Romeo, my youngest son, they knew me so well. I wasn't even on the board yet, right? They knew me so well that my son had an accident. He ran into a gate, right? And the dean called me. He's like, yo, Miss Algarin, Romeo hurt his knee. And me and him put our heads together. What's it look like? Well, I think he'll be all right. I was like, can we put some dirt on it and tell him to get up and keep going? And we both agreed to do that. And come Tuesday, he dislocated his kneecap. We didn't even know. I didn't go blame him. He knew me that well to make a diagnosis for my son. And they know who I am. If the school had a problem with parents, they'd be like, "Yo, Miss Algarin, come here," or, and that's why I'm on the board. Or I'd be like, "No, this is the problem that we need to address." You know what I mean? This is what parents need. But I will tell some of the administrators out there, I seen some good ones and I seen some bad ones.
Absolutely.
And I seen some ones who didn't care if my voice was loud.
Yeah, man, exactly.
And shut me down. And shut me down. You know what I'm saying? And shut me down. So, it depends on who's at the helm. And like I said, that principal on the second day of school knew everybody's name. And I was just like, wow.
Right.
Yeah.
And that was a special one. And you just don't want to leave it up to chance like that. Even when we get to final thoughts, Toya, I'll divert and ask you if you got any questions because I want to make sure we got to it. But like, even I don't know if you can see it, but like in that book, like we tell our parents, you got to make 2 points of contact with your kid, every teacher your kid got twice a semester. Like you need to reach out. You need to do that. You just to check in and ask those questions because you don't want to play those games. We can play the should have game a lot, right? Like and again, I feel where Jube is coming from, and I feel where David is coming from. But y'all are exemplar educators. You are really, really good at what you do. But here's the thing that I'm talking to parents out there. Your kid is not the most important kid to that teacher. I just need you to know that. It's just not. That's the most important kid to you. You know what I'm saying? Depending on how many kids you got in the house, that one might not be the most important kid in that house. What I'm saying is this, man. Let's just be really real with it. You don't want to leave none of this shit up to chance. So, like, if you got a good teacher that calls you, that checks in, that's positive, then get them a Starbucks gift card. Get them something to go to Benihana and take their partner. Show them that love. Get them apples. But in the majority of schools that we don't work in, and David, I came up under you. I'm under you. I come up after you. Like, I went to Westlake. You familiar with Westlake? You familiar with these places? I promise you, that's not what was happening. You know what the vice principal at Westlake was doing? When I was a kid, chasing kids down the street because the gang fights was happening. Like, motherfucker ain't worried about checking in and calling us in. Jubilee, your kid is great today. He trying to stop these kids that came up here with a 4-finger ring on that's knocking out this other kid. And you've been in that environment, David. That's what I mean. It's like,
they're operating off of a different hierarchy of needs, right? They're like, I just need my kids to like not go home like stabbed or like beat up, right?
Yeah. And Jubilee ain't wrong. Jubilee has high expectations. I think she's great at that.
If you've worked in schools, so now we're talking about like the teacher administrator hat on,
right?
You surely are going to be like chasing down situations, right? Where there's like bullying or violence or low academic issues, like any number of things that kids aren't showing up to school. But it all starts with having basic infrastructure in place, and I think what we're talking about here is like one of the things that is really important, if you are a principal, a superintendent, I'm a teacher, right? And today's my first day. I have 5 classes. You're right, Charles, 180 kids. I'm going to make sure that my administration has me set up. It's not my responsibility to find an app to like communicate with my parents. I'm going to make sure that my school is working on an online platform, Parent Square, whatever you want to call it. They're out there. It's an easy technological fix. And if I'm a teacher, I want to know that I have access to easily email all of my period 1 families and my period 2 families and my period 3 families and whatever, and then all of them together, right? So is there a basic infrastructure in place so I can type a quick message? I have access to translation tools as a teacher, because maybe I'm not a native Spanish speaker. Maybe I don't know Spanish. Maybe I don't know Arabic. Maybe I don't know whatever other languages are out there, right? Is my school providing translation services for me so I can make sure that I'm hitting all the marks, right? Those are things that are the responsibility of the principals, the superintendents, the school districts. These are questions that teachers should be asking. If you are a teacher, you should have all these tools at your disposal. So you can just type up a message. Hey, it's the beginning of the school year. My name is Mr. Castillo. I'm teaching 9th grade geometry. Here's how to get a hold of me. Here's a link for the syllabus. Real basic, right? Just make that. I'm not talking about the individualized student conversations. I'm just talking about
just open the door.
Exactly. A
just
blanket,
open the door,
like,
and make it clear.
Here's who I am. That's it.
Make it
and that's
clear.
it's the door opening, right? And so that in and of itself opens communication, right? It's a starter. And so if I'm a teacher, I'm going to ask my principal for that. I'm going to ask then the principal should be asking their superintendents. That's a technological fix, right? It's easy. It's low hanging fruit. And if it's 2023, and if you're a teacher and you don't have those tools at your disposal, you need to ask for them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, agreed. I think I agree with everything that's being said, right? Because like Toya said, I see both sides, right? On the parent side, yes, there should be that agency where you reach out, but there's some information that you've got to get from the school, which is what Dave is talking about. Like, open the door, make it super clear how part of my frustration of relocating from New York to Maryland and learning this educational landscape down here is initially I didn't know who the hell to talk to, who to reach out to, who to send an email to, who does what. And it just wasn't super clear. So it added some frustration and it deepens my distrust of this entire space. You know what I mean? So where I worked was no walk in the park, right? I'm born and raised in East New York, Brooklyn. I should Google it. It's like a little step from Brownsville, where Mike Tyson is from, right? So I've been kicked, I've been spat on, I've been cursed out, I've been all the things you could think of. But I think what I want to go back to is just the intentionality around the communication. That's it for everybody, right? And I think a school does have the right to express that, hey, parents, we're not always going to be able to, reach out. But here's our open door policy, or here is the number to the main office, or here's who you speak to if you have an issue with this, and have a printout or an email that has that information or something that parents can hold on to and know, oh, I got to talk to, like my son just got to high school. They have an annex. I already know it's Miss M. I got to talk to Miss M if there's an issue. I just met with her the other day. There was an issue. I was able to contact her, go in, meet, resolve the issue, done. That's what I'm asking for, like as a parent, a clear pathway. And then from the school side, I feel like the school should be very clear about what they express in terms of how to get in contact with us. In addition to the teachers who are being paid, hallelujah, right? To also prioritize consistent communication in some way, shape, or form, be it a phone call or any of the other means of communication.
Absolutely.
So many levels to unpeel with this. And I'm gonna let y'all know right now, this show will probably go over. But the thing is this, right? I'm just gonna say, I'm saying, look at the onion, right? And we unpeeling it. We talked about the parent, we talked about the student, and we talked about the teacher. But then you gotta go to, there's a level where it might be a new principal, right? And she don't know half of this stuff. Like you said, David, when you said new teacher, I was like, oh Lord, it might be a new principal who don't know any of the parents. And or how to run the school.
And might not be trained by a new superintendent.
Right. At the risk of my child's education. They're learning their job, but my son only has 1 year in 3rd grade.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? This is tough. That's why, again, and the funniest thing we talked about, like, I don't know how many minutes are going by because I don't have the bifocals on today. I got the really jewelry, nice, glass.
You out here. You look great. You look beautiful.
Amazing.
But the thing is, like the most important thing is the communication, right? And building those relationships. because, and then as parents to give teachers grace because maybe it's the first year, and then teachers to give parents grace, and students to learn. I mean, this is a whole, it's an onion being unpeeled today.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you're right. Like if you might have a new teacher, a new principal, and you want to give that grace period, but the next year you have another new teacher and a new principal, and then you have another, and it's like, okay, come on now, you only got one shot at this, right?
And so we talk to parents, right? So y'all get me all motivated and everything, but when we talk to parents, they have to know the importance of being there and the importance of talking to other parents. The parents that don't work in the morning that can go to the school, or somebody at drop off. It's a lot, guys. You get me? I mean, like, I haven't had a child in school. I guess my oldest is 25, but I got these grands, and I'm just like, you're really pumping me up here today.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I think it's beautiful. Go ahead, David.
So it's 4:02. We're over already, so we'll go over a little bit more. But I wanted to just, like, given the fact, so we started with the big theme around back to school. We started with the parent caregiver facing piece. Now we're talking about from within the school, from the teacher to the administration to superintendent. People that are running schools. I guess, let's transition into closing thoughts. We can, like, kind of freestyle it. Like, what is one thing that you have to offer? What do you feel? What are you feeling right now that's, like, most passionate? Like, what is the one thing that you want to communicate, that you want to share around this topic?
Relationships. Like, I think it's what real progress is built on, and don't no parent or teacher or principal or human being want to know what you know until they know, like, how much you care, and I'm not talking about being all mushy and going to people's birthday parties and being a people pleaser, but I mean just the general basic human need for connection. I think when you establish that, it is easier, to Toya's point, to give grace, and for your mind, instead of going to a negative place, to go to maybe Miss M just got caught up. Maybe that's why she didn't send an email, or right. I know she has, tons of students, versus she don't care about my child, right? I think a lot of vitriol that exists comes from the lack of relationship, lack of knowing that someone cares about you in that school environment. And whether it's the school leader, or to I think Omar's earlier point, a teacher that you like, that you can connect with, or someone, everybody needs an ally. And I think all of this is to benefit the growth and the progress of every single child that goes to public school or school period.
Boom. I'll go next. So I think the one thing I have to offer that I haven't shared is, like, we're in this back to school moment. And we've got back to school night tomorrow, right? I'm not sure if I'm gonna go because we got stuff going on, but I should definitely try to go. But I think for people that are running schools, like, if you've been in a school, if you've been a principal, if you've been a teacher, there's a template for back to school night. If you're a parent, you've experienced it, and it's like, oh, okay, that's the same that it was 20 years ago, right? My offering here is to, like, let's reimagine what back to school night could look like. And it's not that hard. You can communicate expectations, you can communicate a syllabus, you can talk about content via other means. But if you're going to ask people to come into a school physically and run them through a schedule, try something different, right? Facilitate small focus groups of parents, or just ask parents. Let parents speak more. Instead of communicating what the expectations are of the teacher and of the school, why don't you ask parents what the expectations that they have of the teacher and the school, right? Facilitate those kinds of conversations. And it gives teachers valuable information. It gives schools valuable information. It's actually less planning for the schools and less planning for teachers, right? Because you don't have to do the whole presentation so many times. But, like, think about how you can retool or rethink back to school night to actually get feedback from families, as opposed to presenting information that can be easily given in an email.
That's a good ass piece of advice. That's a good ass piece of advice, man. I would just carry on and just simply say, listen, like, I think on the administrative end, I'm so adamant about the advisory system because it's such a one-stop shop to give parents one person that they can communicate with on the campus in order to essentially solve all these issues. I think you all mentioned this. There's all sorts of apps, man. There's the Remind app. There's all sorts of ways as administrators. It's so simple, man. You send out this push notification. It's like, yo, this school's got this game. This school's got this going on. They've got a chat service through it. I would really advocate that in the 21st century, our administrators pick up some level of technological response to make it easier for parents to communicate. At the same time, I got to be on Doc's side and be like, don't wait for the school to do something. Take the initiative, go find out who your kid's favorite teacher is and get in there. And look, man, you get in there and start volunteering, you're going to find out a lot of information. And from a like grassroots perspective, don't do it alone. Just get a small cadre of parents who are interested that you can communicate frequently, and then, you know, organize, switch up, being like, listen, I can't be there all the time, but you can be there one day out of the month. You can be here another day. And having that text chain exist and organically grow to a group of parents can solve so many of the issues that you're facing, because you shouldn't have to do this alone.
So I could go next. So first of all, what all the parents need to do is get the Agentic Black parent book.
I love that woman.
Yeah.
Would you mind just dropping that link in the chat, Charles? Can you do that? So I could like try to.
Sure.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, well, it says it there, but what I've been taking notes, guys, right? So I'm just gonna read back what I told you guys, right? So, I mean, you guys told
I think
me.
you're the first person to come on the show and take notes. Thank you, by the way.
No, always. Touch point with the children. Jubilee, that was amazing. I like that, because I mean, that's something that I could have done better. So I'm just going to say you could always be better, right? And you taught me something today. And my kids are telling me that now. And my kids are actually touching point with their kids. And I'm like, they don't have feelings. These kids don't need feelings. Get to school. But anyway, I'm just kidding. I stick to who I am, right? Okay. And the other one was make relationships with parents, other parents, you know, and building relationships is so important when you can't be there. And I was like the queen of that, because a lot of times I really couldn't be there because I was working. And then I have advocate for an advisory system. Now, Texas, I'm loving that. And the funniest thing, when you guys were saying these things, I'm like, okay, I really need to get with the parents. So I'm texting people at the same time, like, look at this podcast. And that advisory system is something that I think that we'll be working on. Yeah, and the other thing is, like, you know, make sure your child, you know, like, the teacher is expressing love and all that other good stuff, right? But for our second show, it should be midpoint, maybe October, November, David. We'll talk about, no, I'm just saying, listen, right? We'll talk about this. Now that I know that you love my child, are you teaching my child?
There you go.
And how can you prove to me that you're doing that?
Hell yeah.
You know,
yeah, I love it.
Secondly, let's have a conversation about how I can support my child at home with that math homework you just gave out. Okay, please tell me where to go. Tell me a video. Help me out with that. But that's something that we can come back with. And final thing is, thank you so much for having me on this show. I will be back October, November, but I want everybody to listen out for the Freedom Reach Literary Society, because we're doing communal learning. So David, I heard you talking about all the other noise that's in the street, but that noise is screaming.
Yeah.
And they're stopping our history.
Yeah.
Right? They don't want us to know how it really worked here in America. So communal learning is important as well.
Yep.
So we'll be coming out with some things. I just want everybody to just listen up and stand by. And thank you again.
Yeah. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Toya.
Did you want me to go? Or
Charles,
you want me to wait?
Dr. Cole, I think you're up. Yeah.
Yeah, I would just say if was a fifth, we'd all be drunk. I think what people were saying makes a lot of sense. I think what school should be doing was very pristine and it made a bunch of sense. But I've worked in education and around education long enough to know that that's not the majority of the people that's on this show or watch it, that those are not the experiences. And so, you know, when you learn how to drive, they taught you to be what's called a defensive driver, meaning that there's a double line here. People ain't supposed to cross the double line. But guess what? People cross the double line all the time. People ain't supposed to drive drunk, but they drive drunk all the time. So when you have a teenager and you're teaching that teenager how to drive, you're teaching them how to be a defensive driver. Well, I need you to be a defensive parent advocate, meaning that there's a lot of things that's supposed to happen. The light's supposed to turn green, yellow, and red when it's supposed to. But in case it doesn't, you need to be the person that is driving that and in charge of that, because that child is your most precious asset. It is not that teacher's most precious asset. It is not that principal's. It is not that system's. So you can play those games if you want. And I think what Jubilee and David was saying was absolutely correct on what should happen. But they are talking from being very high-performing teachers and administrators. And if we had more high-learning, high-functioning teachers and administrators, then we wouldn't need this damn show. But we do. And so you do. So make your contact twice a semester with your kid's child. If they got 7 teachers, that's 14 calls. That's it. That's it. Do that. And then when they call you in January on some stuff you ain't know about, it's like, well, why you didn't tell me this in the last check-in? Now you got that. But this is what I want to tell Black and brown and poor parents. You can win all the arguments. You can get all the moral wins that you want. But our kids are still not getting what they deserve, and you deserve better. So don't wait for them. Don't wait for them to prove statistics wrong. You got to get ahead of it. Those are my final thoughts.
Woo! All right. I think have we wrapped up closing thoughts? Everybody finished?
I think it's all you, brother.
We're good. All right.
You got you, coach.
All right. Well, I think I closed out. I started on the idea of the flipping back to school night. Listening to parents about expectations as opposed to communicating expectations from the school. So that's it. Yeah. Episode 109, back to school special. It sounds like we got some more shows teed up here, which we can definitely make happen. Thank you, Ms. Toya, for joining us today and sharing your experience and your wisdom with us. And thank you for bringing your people too. We got some good views today. So thank you for that. Got a little bump there. That's how you roll. We appreciate that. And yeah, we'll be back next week. South Star Classroom, episode 110 next week. You can join us here every Tuesday at 3 p.m. Pacific time, 6 p.m. Eastern time. And we do a rebroadcast of this show. This show will be rebroadcast on Friday at the same time, 3 p.m. Eastern or Pacific, 6 p.m. East Coast time. So with that, thanks everybody for joining us. Power to the people.
Peace out.